Hey everybody, it's Joe Pro, and today we're finally going to be talking some Paper Mario. Yeah, my channel is a Paper Mario themed channel after all, and yet it has been 7 months since I have talked about the remake officially on this channel, so today I'm going to give you all my top 10 final wishes wish list video for my wishes for the Thousand Year Door remake coming next month. And yeah, very excited to do this. It's been 7 months since the remake was officially announced by Nintendo, and since I've talked about it here on the channel, so I will go ahead and jump right in. Just a few ground rules here real quickly. These are just my interests, and who knows if they're gonna happen or not, but I did put them in sequence from what I am least hopeful for to what I'm most hopeful for. So the first few we'll talk about are things that I would like, but you know, I'm not exactly demanding they happen. I'm not gonna cry if they don't, and they're just things that would be helpful. And then later on we get to the things that I would freak out over. If they actually happened, I would lose my mind. It would explode. So that's the sequence we're gonna go through, the least hype to the most hype. The second thing to note here is I'm going to actually put my percent probability that I think it's actually going to happen on screen as I'm discussing the topic, and I'll probably talk about it as well, but some of these are completely unlikely, never gonna happen, but a few of them I could definitely see happening. So with all that said, let's just jump into it. I love this game, you love this game, we want to talk Paper Mario before we get into Paper Mario Month next month, so let's do it. First up, we have a few quality of life improvement wishes here. So the first one, the thing I'm least hopeful for but would still be really great, I personally don't mind the backtracking in the Thousand Year Door. I don't think that the Twilight Town backtracking is that bad, and I really don't have many issues with it in general in the game, except maybe in Chapter 5 on Keyhole Key, it gets a little bit annoying, but nothing too bad. The one thing that does bother me, I guess a little bit, is the General White section of the game in Chapter 7. Of course, it's notorious, everybody hates it. I still don't even think it's that bad. I kind of like going back to all of the places that you had visited. I don't like trying to wake him up though, that guy's a loser, and that part does kind of suck, but I don't really want that section removed. I just want it to be improved, make it a bit more dynamic. Maybe each time you go back to a previous area, it's changed somehow. I don't know, there's new dialogue, the environment's changed. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have specific ideas here, I guess. I just think that making it more interesting, maybe some like little mini boss encounters or enemy encounters or something, that anything they can do there to make it more fascinating, where you feel like the world has changed since you were there last, I think that would be really value added to the experience and make the General White segment quite a bit more fun there as you approach the final act of the game. For this one, I do say about a 40% chance, not that they do it all the way and add content, but 40% chance that they change it in some form, because a lot of people do complain about it, so I could see them reducing the length of it or making the backtracking a little bit more simplified, but I don't even care about those things. It's more about the story and the atmosphere to me, if they could do something to kind of improve it. All right, that brings us to number 2, another big quality of life improvement here that would be very helpful. Again, it isn't really to add more warps or fast travel or anything of that nature. I'm kind of content with how the game already is, but it is to allow you to take more than one trouble from the trouble center at once, ideally at least 2 or 3. Now this one I give a 70% chance of happening, which is one of the most likely on this entire list. It's something that really does need to happen. If you've played the original game and you're trying to go through the Trouble Center, you know very well that sometimes you have to go to the Glitz Pit multiple times or Hooktail's Castle multiple times, and since you can only take one trouble at a time, you're backtracking back and forth, and it can take as many as 10 minutes each time to do your trouble. And basically all I want is where you can take 2 or 3 at once. If you could do that, then you could take the Hooktail Castle troubles and just go ahead and knock them all out, all in one go, and not have to go back and forth and back and forth. And so I think that would be extremely helpful. Maybe the Trouble Center could just be contacted via Mario's little device there, which it might see an update as well to a 3DS or a Switch or something. But yeah, I want some sort of streamlined version here of the Trouble Center. And my third wish for Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door is to include some sort of hard mode or some more hard badges. So as of right now, in the original game, there is the double pain badge, which of course doubles your pain. But I think that's it for like kind of difficult badges, hard mode badges. So I would definitely love to see some more badges that you can turn off and on. I don't know, maybe ones that cap your damage output or make you take, I don't know. I didn't really think about it. This is a casual video. I don't have the ideas, I just have the demands, okay? Hard mode, much more simple to kind of envision here, but something that just kind of forces you to not be able to level up or level up in more basic terms, or maybe it just gives you requirements for every battle, or maybe the audience throws bombs at you, I don't know, or maybe the bosses are just way stronger, maybe the super guards and the regular guards are more frame perfect, less frames that you can activate them on. There's a lot of different things that they can do, including of course double damage and all that, but definitely would like to see something here for replayability purposes, for challenge run purposes. Of course the community does a great job of coming up with all of these on their own, but having it programmed into the game would be really great. Lastly, on this one, I think about a 65% chance that we see something. I don't think we're gonna see anything too crazy, but I really don't think we're gonna see any badges get added, but I do think we could see maybe some sort of hard mode, hero quest type of component added to the game. Alright, my fourth most wanted demand for Nintendo here is the least likely by far. I give it 2% chance, and I think that's being generous, but having Luigi's little story side quest added as post-game content, how cool would it be if after having 20 years of hearing Luigi talk about his adventures, if you actually got to do them in the Waffle Kingdom, of course. So that would be really great. Be cool if it was post-game. I imagine it wouldn't take very long, it's not going to be like a 12-hour game, but maybe like a little 1-hour bonus mode, kind of like in Pikmin 4, you have Olimar's Shipwreck Adventure or whatever, so something like that I think would be really cool. It's not going to happen, there's no way. Some people on Reddit seem to think it's going to happen, but I don't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I don't think so. Alright, in number 5 is a boss rush mode, or replaying bosses. I think that would be so cool. I do think that boss rush in this game isn't as necessary as maybe it would be in like a remake of Paper Mario 64, because you already do replay a lot of bosses. You can refight Rock Hawk, you can refight, of course, Sir Lord Crump, you can refight, who else can you refight here? You get to fight Bowser a couple times, spoilers, there's some other people I think, but the point is it would be really great if you could just go into a boss roulette and just go through all the bosses in the game. I will say the battle system in the Thousand Year Door is so amazing, but sometimes the regular fights do get a little bit annoying, but I think that the bosses are just so fun and fresh and creative, and the music's great and the challenge is great, so if you could combine the hard mode stuff with the boss rush, I think that would be so good. So I give this one a 20% chance. I don't know, I could see them maybe doing something here, but it's definitely unlikely. Alright, number 6. Now I think this one is pretty likely to happen, and it's one that I want so desperately. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to be pretty sad. This one is to have an original music toggle where you can listen to the original game soundtrack or the remastered soundtrack. Now, why do I think this is likely? Well, for one, it essentially costs Nintendo nothing. They can just include the original tracks without increasing their bits or remastering them or anything. It costs them nothing, but also Super Mario RPG, the remake of that, did include a toggle, and you see a lot of games these days include that option, such as the Spyro Reignited Trilogy. We do see that, so I think it's about an 85% chance. The new music does sound great. Some of the themes especially are quite good, but there's a few that we've heard so far, and I won't go into the specifics, but there's definitely a few that I've heard so far that I don't think sound quite as good as what I would like. The instrumentation's great, the remastered aspect's great, but it's just kind of the style. It's a little bit, maybe just a little bit kind of jazzier and I prefer more of the techno sounds from the original soundtrack. I'm just very nostalgic for it, so I like both, and I probably switch back and forth constantly throughout the game just to hear both versions of every single song. And then on future replays, I'd probably, flip a coin to decide which one I'm going to listen to, but I want the option. Sounds great, and they should definitely do it. Okay, so this one is the second least likely to happen. I don't see it happening, and it's probably one of my most out there ones that I haven't seen anybody else ask for online, but I would love for them to add some potentially missing content back in from Chapter 6. So I've always heard, and I was trying to find more information about it, but I do believe there was a boss that was cut out of either Riverside Station or the Poshly Sanctum. So I believe Mario was supposed to fight Beldam, Marilyn, and I believe Dupless as well in Chapter 6, and I don't recall if it was going to be in Riverside Station or in the Sanctum. You'd think it'd be in the Sanctum because they show up there, and that seems like that'd be a good place for it right at the end of the chapter, but it may have been in the Riverside Station, and then you still fight the Smorgs at the end. I think it's probably more likely it was going to be in Riverside Station, and I think that would have been really cool. So I think there's only a 7% chance here, 7%. I do think it's more likely than you getting an entire post-game of Luigi. I think it's more likely we get one boss battle, but it does seem like Nintendo rarely adds content like this to remasters. They don't really add anything or change anything about the game. They just add some quality of life stuff. So this one's definitely a pipe dream. I would lose my crap over it for sure. It would be so cool, but no, it's not gonna happen. Okay, so this one a little bit more likely, still not very likely. I'll get into that in a second, but I would love it if you could visit Toad Town again from the first game and see all of your partners. Now, this one's very interesting because they really have no reason to do it. The only reason I am even talking about it as a possibility, more than 0%, is because of the music in the original trailer. There at the beginning of the trailer, you have remastered music from Paper Mario 64. Now, I really don't know why they would do that. I don't feel like they would spend the money to make that track just for the trailer, so it does indicate to me that there must be some sort of bonus content from based on the original game. And the only thing I can think of that seems realistic is that maybe at the start of the game, you can walk through Toad Town, or more likely in the post-game, you can go back to your house and maybe walk through a screen or two of Toad Town. So if you can walk through a screen of Toad Town, I assume, well, why not just have the partners all there too? I think that would be really, really great. It's also possible that the music's just going to be in like a soundtrack option thing, or unlockable soundtracks that you can unlock throughout the game, and maybe they have some from the first game as well. Definitely could see that happening. I will say, if you can't go to Toad Town, then my backup wish here is just including all of the original partners. In Thousand Year Door, originally it was going to have every partner from the first game where you would see them. They would all cameo, but in the final version of the game, of course, you only have Parakarry and Lady Bow. So anyways, normally I would say this is like 0%, but because of the music I say 15%, and as far as just all of the partners appearing, but not, you're not going back to the original game, but they just show up somewhere like Lady Bow does, I would say like 33%, like 32, 33%. I could definitely see it happening, but I'm not counting on it. Definitely seems unlikely. All right, that brings us to number 9. Very unlikely, but a little bit more likely than a few of the other added content categories I've talked about, but this one I would freak out over. This is to add Prince Mush to the revamped Glitz Pit, to the second Glitz Pit journey. So as you may know, you go through the Glitz Pit the first time, you fight Rock Hawk at the end, and then once you finish the chapter, it turns out Prince Mush was the original champion and that he went MIA. Bad things happened to that poor little kid. And yeah, so I don't know. I think when you go through the Glitz Pit the second time, it's quite boring because you're literally doing the same thing again for the second time. So I think it would be really great if all of the enemies became more difficult. Maybe we added some enemies, switched other enemies out, and most importantly, if Rock Hawk is no longer the champion, and instead at the end of the pit, you have to fight Prince Mush. It would also make this, I believe, the only time in a Paper Mario game that you can fight a Toad, which would be so cool, except I'm an idiot because of course you got the Master in Paper Mario 64. I forgot that as I was saying it, but hey, that would be such a cool callback. In Paper Mario 64, the hardest boss is the Master version 3, and you know, he's one of those characters you're kind of fake fighting him, right? Like you don't game over, you're just fighting him as kind of a bonus content. And so Prince Mush would have the same purpose. He would be, you wouldn't game over from him, you fight him in a battle, a staged battle, and he could be the most difficult boss in the entire game. Like, how cool would that be if this little toad kid was stronger than the Shadow Queen and Bone Tail? That would be incredible. So I really think this would be one of the best additions to the game. If they're going to add anything new to the game, add this. It would be incredible and really fix an issue with replaying the Glitz Pit. Now, I only give it a 10% chance, so it is more likely than the Luigi content or the Riverside Station boss fights, but still not very likely at all, unfortunately. Alright, and that brings us to number 10. So this is it, the last one, and I will admit I am cheating just a little bit here, but my final wish and most important wish for the 1,000-Year Door that I would rather happen than anything else I've ever talked about here in this video is that it sells like crazy. I want this game to sell so well. It needs to be the best-selling Paper Mario game, the best-selling Mario RPG ever made, and if it does, I really think Nintendo's listening right now. They sent out the survey. They're really trying to revamp this game, so I really want this to sell well. I believe if it does sell well, then in a few years on the Switch 2, we could see a ground-up new Paper Mario game that really goes back to the roots, has the chapters, has the partners, has the battle system, has the unique characters and the world and all the good stuff, you know? So I want it so badly. I want it. So please, what can you do to make this a 100% chance, as we'd all like it to be? Well, buy the game, support the game. I mean, it's going to be cheaper probably than buying it for the GameCube, so just grab a copy, you know? It's going to be great, and I really look forward to Paper Mario Month next month. I'm going to have like a dozen videos coming out over the course of the month of May, so looking very much forward to celebrating that all with you all and doing my part to help advertise the game here so that it does sell extraordinarily well and convinces Nintendo to go back to the roots of the first 2 Paper Mario games. Well, my friends, that is all I have for you today. I would love to hear down in the comments below which of these do you think is the most likely and which ones am I a fool about. Also would love to hear what are your predictions and what is your wish list for the game. If you could wish for anything to see, what would it be? Let me know in the comments below. Also, please head on over to Twitter or X or whatever and follow me on there. I have lots of good stuff on there, including some exclusive looks at the Paper Mario Hooktail Battle, which will be releasing here in a few weeks alongside the remake. So go ahead and check it out over there. Thank you for watching and see you guys soon. Bye-bye.